Hi, everybody. My name is Amar Hulslander, and I wanted to spend some time with you today to go over paper prototyping and a brief introduction of it. Some of the things that I would like you to walk away from this video with is information on just generally the paper prototyping process, what it is, what it entails, and also how to create one. And part of that process is going through a process called the Crazy8 exercise, where we draw 8 radically different ways to solve the same problem in 8 minutes. You will then also take those sketches that you've created in the Crazy8 exercise to then dive deeper into one solution where you then take those drawings and create a digital prototype. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what exactly paper prototyping is and what it's not. So paper prototyping is really a pen and paper method of explaining the ideas that you have for your digital design project. So this video is primarily made for my students at the University of Colorado, Denver, but I suspect that other people will see it too, which is great. But for our digital design project, what you will be doing is drawing the screens of your product. You will then upload those drawings to a prototyping software called Marvel, or you can use the other one called Envision. You'll be able to sign up for both products for free. You'll use those products to draw hotspots, so these invisible blue boxes of interaction area where you essentially tell this software how to process input. So how does someone tap on this blue box or pinch zoom or swipe, and it will link your screens together. So for instance, if you have this invisible blue box on this button, when you tap on this invisible blue box on top of that button, you will then go to the next screen. So you'll be able to use your software to do something like that. And then you will generate a shareable link so that you can actually send it to someone for testing, or maybe a design teammate to preview the work that you have in process. Okay. So there are a lot of benefits to paper prototyping. I only outline a couple here, just in the, in order to save time for us. But the process is very inexpensive. After all, it only requires pen and paper. For your video demo, though, that you'll be submitting after this, it will require the use of a smartphone that also has a camera and internet connection and a data plan. So in general, creating a paper prototype is much cheaper and much more effective, at least when you initially come up with ideas, than having to code a full-blown product, or even to design pixel-perfect design mocks in order to illustrate your point of view. With a paper prototype, you're able to just quickly sketch out the ideas that you have and then make them tappable so that someone else can kind of get a sense for your direction, and how things might look and feel in terms of placement on the screen. Additionally, paper prototypes are super quick. You can make them in a pretty short amount of time. I've been able to walk through students within 20 to 30 minutes of a couple of design exercises in the demo. They've been able to actually put out a paper prototype hand drawn using other software within 30 minutes. So it's actually a great way to get a lot of different ideas out there without a significant amount of time investment. Lastly, paper prototyping also allows us to be very creative. So we're allowed to make mistakes because it's on paper. We're allowed to try a lot of different ideas and fail quickly, versus having to design the actual screens using Photoshop, Illustrator, Sketch, Figma, etc., or even having to code the actual screens from scratch, or even using a platform or a library. Just drawing it out, being able to get ideas quickly out on paper and shareable to other people allows us to move forward quickly. So that's why I have an emphasis on paper prototyping at the very beginning of a lot of the projects that I assign for my class. So the first thing we will do is actually go into the Crazy8s drawing exercise. And you may wonder what that entails. So Crazy8s is really just about taking a sheet of paper and then folding it into eight boxes. And what you do in those 8 boxes is you time yourself. So for every box you have, you give yourself 1 minute to draw an idea that essentially kind of encompasses the scope of what you're looking to design. So let's say I'm creating a running app for my friends where we can run together we can run at the same time together, but we can live in different areas. So kind of running in different cities. I can essentially take my sheet of paper that has 8 boxes on it that I've folded, and in each square, I will actually draw a different concept of how I would go about showing that problem, or I'm sorry, showing that solution, or what it could look like. So these 8 different squares should be 8 completely different ideas. It shouldn't be a flow of one idea where it's this is screen 1, this is screen 2, this is screen 3. So again, Crazy8s means 8 different ideas and a minute apart each. So the goal here is to work quickly, and that can be scary to some people. In the cases of my students, you're working remotely, so you're gonna have to keep yourself honest and to keep a time and make sure that you don't spend more than a minute per drawing. It gets very fun after a while, so you might want to continue doodling. But again, only 8 squares or 8 boxes, 8 different ideas, and 1 idea per rectangle. And after rectangle 2 or 3, you may start needing to push a little bit harder for different ideas, and that's okay. Again, that's part of the design process. So here's an example of what it could look like after you have your different screens drawn out or different ideas. You'll even see here that the designer has some notations on their drawings to give some sort of verbal explanation as to the direction that they want to take. So for this exercise, go ahead and pause your video and begin drawing your Crazy8s. So again, fold your pieces of paper. So I folded it in half, and then half, and then half again. And then when I unfolded it, it had 8 different boxes on it. And then go ahead and set a timer for 1 minute and draw your first box, and then go ahead and repeat 8 times and return back to this video. Okay, so now you should be done with your Crazy8s exercise. And now what we want to do is actually focus on your big idea. So your sketches probably have a lot of different ideas and a lot of different directions, because that was actually part of the exercise, was actually trying to find 8 different ways to solve the problem that you've outlined. So here you want to start narrowing down on a specific concept or idea. So in this case, I want you to examine your sketches and look at the different components of your sketches, like which components or which ideas resonated with you most, which concept has the most potential, or even what felt most interesting. So for class, we haven't really done any user research or market research or competitive analysis to better understand the marketplace and how much this product is needed, or even if this concept is something worth pursuing. So in the absence of data, what we can rely on at the very least is kind of our intuition in terms of the direction that we think might make most sense for the problem that we've outlined. So in this case, I want you to start looking at some of the different components that you've drawn, maybe circle things that you like or X things that you don't. And then what we'll do is we'll then dive deeper into sketching your big idea. So this may include a couple of concepts from different drawings that you've put together, or maybe something completely different altogether. But ideally, the Crazy8s exercise would have facilitated some sort of mechanism by kind of dumping all of your ideas out on paper. But in this part of the exercise, we actually want to take an idea or a concept and start diving deeper and drawing a user flow for it. So essentially a step-by-step screen of how someone would interact with your digital product to solve the problem that you've identified. And again, you would do that by taking the elements that you created in your Crazy8s exercise, pulling out what you like or pulling out what you think has potential, and creating a process around it, essentially a storyboard using different screens and also some annotations here. So some things to do as you prepare this for your team is make sure you create some sort of title for it, and then have at least 3 screens that you show that outline this process flow that you are kind of considering for this problem that you are designing for. So you only want to draw 3 states. If you get too far, you may not get a chance to validate with the team members, or at least get some breather room first before diving even further into your sketches. We also want to make this as real as possible. So this is where you would actually start writing the text that shows up on screen. You wouldn't have to draw, you know, amazing like illustrations of the images, but you can get kind of close, or as close as you can get. So again, this is the time that you get to kind of dive deeper into that one big idea that you had, and you're really synthesizing that from your Crazy8s exercise. So go ahead and pause the video and begin drawing the 3 screens of your big idea. And then when you're done, return back and we will continue.